I request all the students to turn on their cameras. It's already time, so we will begin today's session. I request all the students to turn on their cameras. Okay. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Today we have all gathered virtually for the second day of interaction with global citizens organized by our school. And for today's conversation, we have our guest speaker, Oliver Pilemand. We welcome you, sir.
Hello, thank you very much.
Okay. And we all know that today's topic for discussion is Indian and Danish culture and traveling. And before starting today's session, I would like to introduce our guest speaker in brief. Oliver Palmand is a Danish filmmaker who has traveled all around the world since a very young age, including Canada, Australia, America, Norway, India, Singapore, Kenya, and he has even stayed in Czech Republic to live as well as study. He's now working for a production company in Copenhagen and has been assisting for the production of television shows for the Danish theaters and streaming services. Besides that, he is developing his own, sorry, besides that, he's developing his own projects and he has been occasionally making time to breathe out and to enjoy the life. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing some time for us. And over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you very much for letting me be here and be part of this talk. I hope you can all
My
hear me.
pleasure, sir.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I'm sitting at my work right now, so if I have any issues with my audio, then please let me know. And I hear you
Sure,
loud
sir.
and clear. Great. So, hello everybody. My name is Oliver. I'm 26-year-old and I'm living in Copenhagen, Denmark, where I was born and raised. And I am currently working at a film production company, as per my introduction. And I'm actually sitting at work right now. And I have been traveling and making movies for many, many years. I've been studying across like at different places all over the globe. And I've been traveling since I was a kid. So I wanted to talk to you about my experience traveling in India. I was so fortunate that I had the opportunity to travel to India in 2019, just before Corona, the pandemic, and everything broke out. So very fortunate to have a chance to see your country and experience traveling around for 3 weeks. So if I can figure out how to share screen, then I have some pictures I'd love to share with you. Let's see. Give me just 1 second. I have a little technical issue sharing the screen. Mhm. Okay, I think I'm getting it. So I haven't used Google Meet for calling before. I think I may need to leave the call and get back in before I can share my screen. Will that be okay? I can be back in 10 seconds.
Sure, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All the students, please turn on your cameras. It's like we are talking with ourselves. Although there are many people who has joined, it's like we are talking with ourselves. Please turn on your cameras.
All right, hello again. Hopefully I can share my pictures with you now. Let's see. Do you see my screen with pictures?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna do like this and we're gonna go forward. Okay, so you had my introduction, my pictures. I'm bringing a little pictures from Denmark and some pictures from my trip to India. So hopefully we can have a conversation about the two countries and talk about some curious differences and some nice experiences. So if I'm talking too fast or if I'm talking too slow, please feel free to interrupt me. And or if you have a question or anything that you would like to point out or ask, just please speak up. So first of all, you had my introduction. I am a 26-year-old. I'm living in Copenhagen, and I'm currently working at a production house. We are producing television series and feature films for a Danish audience. And because Denmark is a very small country, we have a very small population. We usually do collaborations with other countries from usually Europe to finance our film projects. So that's the brief introduction. That's me. And I come from and I live in Denmark, which is this very small country in Scandinavia, in Europe, north of Germany. And I have been living there for 26 years, apart from my 1 year in the Czech Republic. And I am living in Copenhagen, which is the capital of Denmark, at the east coast of the country. And just a brief introduction, if you want to know, Denmark is a very cold country. Denmark, I'm not kidding when I say that Denmark most of the time looks like these two images. Denmark is surrounded by water. There are beaches. Denmark is made up of islands, so we have a lot of beach and a lot of sea around the country. And it will mostly, winter and summer, look a little bit like this. But at times we have snow and warm summers, so the diversity or the difference between summer and winter can be quite dramatic. But most of the time we're stuck in this gray soup of sort of weatherless nothing. And I'm not kidding, you can't see it, but when I'm looking out the window right now, I see exactly this kind of weather. I will do something like this. Just minimize this. All right, so going forward. Yeah, so just a few facts about Denmark that I thought might be interesting for you to know. We are a population of approximately 6 million people. The main language is Danish, which is spoken by almost only Danes, so it's a very limited language. And we even have trouble talking to our neighboring countries, Norway and Sweden. But the languages are somewhat similar. The most popular sport, besides from soccer, is handball, which is played almost equally or almost in the same manner as handball. But as you guessed it, you play with your hands, or you push the ball around with your hands and you throw it and try to score. So of course there's a time difference. To me it is 10 a.m. right now, and I am looking outside at a gray sky. It is a gray, foggy morning, and it's a bit rainy. And since it's winter time, the sun just got up from where I'm sitting right now. In the winter, the sun gets up very late in the morning, and it goes down again before 4 p.m. And in the summer times, we have almost 18 hours of sunlight every day. So again, the difference between winter and summer is quite dramatic. All right. But so what I wanted to show or talk to you about today was that in 2019, in the summer, I was so fortunate that I could travel to India with my girlfriend. And the reason to interested in travel, I've also always been interested in getting to know foreign countries and different cultures besides my own. And the further I could get away from Copenhagen and Denmark, the better. And when I stayed in the Czech Republic to study, I met a lot of good friends from India. So I was fortunate to have people I could visit when I came to India, and that I could travel with and get a closer feeling of the experience of India, besides just the touristy things. So my trip started in Mumbai, and then by bus and train I went across to Pune, down to Goa. We had a short stay in Hampi, staying in the jungle. Then we went to Bangalore for a few days, and then flew up to Delhi and went home. So it was a very brief trip. And in just 3 weeks, we had to stuff in as many things that we could possibly do. So I wouldn't say that I've seen all of India at all, and I'm hoping to come back very soon to see even more. I know that 3 weeks wasn't nearly enough to get a sense of the country. So, just a few curious observations. I was, for the first time I did it, even looking at maps and preparing beforehand, overwhelmed by the size of India. So I come from a very small country, and India is approximately 76 times larger than Denmark. And where I come from, you can drive for 4 hours, and you can go from one end of the country to the other. So just being in a country with so many states, so many types of land, so many cities was very new to me and very interesting. These are impressions, but it mattered a lot to me that it's also I really enjoyed being in the warm weather, and seeing this picture I took from Mumbai, because so where I'm sitting right now, I'm kind of freezing, and I think having a warm weather and a warm what do you call it, a warm climate is a part of making a more what do you call it, outgoing and social culture. Because where I come from, people are very in a sense more closed off, more busy, and more not as welcoming. And that's a thing I do not enjoy much about my own country, Denmark. But I was very happy to when I was visiting to see when I was visiting India, to see welcoming faces and I was fortunate to be invited into my friends' homes and get to see a different side of a country that I've only heard much about beforehand, but never experienced firsthand. So, I mean, these are just pictures. Let's see, let's go forward. You may recognize this figure. So, let's see. So one thing that I personally found very interesting, or like an exciting part of my experience, was experiencing the traffic in the big city. I did a lot of rickshaw, or travel by rickshaw and taxis, and I had, when I was walking in Mumbai and Delhi with my friends, who were used to the traffic and the rush of the city, I was kind of scared at first when I was told, I was just thrown into it and just follow suit. And so I did. And growing up in a country or in a city where most roads are just 2 lanes, one in each direction, going to a 8-city lane or a 8-lane road with hundreds of cars and bikes and rickshaws at the same time, I had to get used to that. But it was I felt like I got the hang of it as time went on. So so just to point out a little interesting difference is, I live in Copenhagen, and in Copenhagen, it's very expensive to own a car. It's very expensive to park a car, and it's very expensive to buy a car, and it's very expensive to have your car fixed. So most people avoid buying cars, and instead everyone is going by bike. So it's not unusual that you see these crazy piles of bikes just being, piled on top of each other, doing work hours or near office spaces, and the only thing that prepared me for the traffic in India was my biking experience from back home, because you actually have people going 5 or 6 bikes next to each other on a 2-bike lane in rush hour. So a little experience I had from home. All right. Okay, so I was very interested so I'm jumping a bit around in my trip. So there might be some holes, that it might not be linear, we might go a bit back and forth. But one thing that I thought was really interesting was, of course, the wildlife in India. We didn't get to experience much wildlife at first hand. And I wouldn't necessarily call stray dogs a kind of, wildlife. But I was very curious to see that so many dogs was close to the city and living close to people, and just minding their own business, digging around in trash and walking near the shores and just doing their own thing. And that whole proximity to animals is something that I miss a lot living in Denmark. Because Denmark is very, you can call it very flat. It's an old farmer's country. So all of the cities, all of the land is fields and small towns, small villages, and all the forest and all the nature that you have in Denmark is sort of controlled, or what do you call it, grown. So you have to get pretty far out of the city to really get contact with even small animals. In the city, you only see birds and an occasional squirrel. So, and I just thought it was so interesting to have that direct contact or like a direct proximity to animals, even in the cities. So that was a really interesting first-hand expression or experience. All right, and of course, the okay, hands down, the food, and I'm not kidding. I had the best food of my entire life at my trip in India. So I will get back to Danish food in a second because that is not at all as interesting. But this picture is from Pune, where I had my first experience with the thali. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but I was invited into this restaurant with my girlfriend Caroline and a friend, and we sat down and we had the first tray of food coming in, and then the second, and the third, and everything was different, and everything was super tasteful. And I'm not kidding, because I was sitting at that moment thinking, I've just had a bite of heaven. And so going forward, just to show you the difference or show you where I'm coming from and what I'm used to. Oh, this is just another picture of us travelers enjoying food. This is from Delhi. Okay. So the food that I'm used to from back home. Denmark is an old farmers' country. So from 100 years back, we used to be almost exclusively farmers. Most of the population was living at the countryside, being self-sufficient with meat and milk and wheat. So the food that is what you would consider, well, Danish traditional food is very heavy on the meat side. You have a lot of pork chops, bacon, beef, and chicken. And you can be sure for every dish you will see potatoes. You'd see mashed potatoes, you would see boiled potatoes, you would see raw potatoes, you would see potatoes with sauce, you would say potatoes without sauce. And you can't, even if you try it, you cannot escape the potato. So this image is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but it's basically, I'll get back to that. But this is a very, what you could call traditional type of food from Denmark, where you would have cold cuts of different kinds. You would have tuna fish with raw onions. You would have some sort of meat or eggs and different kinds of vegetable, and you would stuff it all onto this piece of rye bread, which is this very dark, very heavy, and very healthy type of bread. And you can basically use that for anything. It's sort of the main ingredient in every Danish cuisine. You'd have this bread, and you would just pile stuff on top of it. So as you can see, most of the Danish food is very heavy. It's very salty and very, what you could call it, like, you know, meat and vegetables. So that is why for a long time, it's been a tradition to, next to a large dinner, especially at a party or a sort of a celebration, you would have these bottles of snaps, this sort of liquor that would help the digestion. And that has been a sort of ingrained part of the culture, that having snaps or some sort of beer to your dinner helps the digestion and is a part of a meal. I will say that this is, of course, not every day. It's not that these snaps will be drunk by everyone at every meal, but it's more a traditional thing, or at large gatherings, that everyone will have these snaps, and I do not recommend it. Yeah, more pictures. This is from a train ride to Goa. We had a little something on the train. This is my girlfriend Caroline enjoying her chicken. This is me enjoying my chicken. Not the best picture, but that's all I got. So before going back to this. So to me, what I was mostly surprised about was just the amount of flavor, the amount of different tastes, and the amount of care that was put into the food that I was presented. So I really loved that. And I was really surprised by just the size, or like the way that food was served when I was traveling in India. Because usually when you go to a Danish restaurant, you order something and then you get a plate, and it's usually just the main course. If you want any sides, you have to order that as well. And then when you finish that plate, you're done. There's no more food unless you order more. So going to a restaurant in Mumbai, or even going to a friend's house, the amount of food, like the amount of different kinds of food that was made and prepared, it was amazing. I was blown away. I'm sure this might sound trivial to you guys, because you've grown up with this, but to me this was really a big part of the experience. It was really something, just because it was so flavorful and so tasty, and just, all around a great experience. And I remember, okay, funny story. I remember sitting at, so I was visiting a friend in Bangalore, and I was visiting his family. I had never met his parents before, so we were invited to dinner. And we sat down, we had a dinner. It was, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was extremely tasteful. And I was eating my way through the first portion that I got, and I'm like, oh, I'm so full. This is, like, how am I ever going to eat again? When I was told that this was only first course. So I got a lot of food during my travels. Okay, so going forward, this I just want to point out, because so before coming to India, I haven't really seen a cricket game before. I didn't know much about cricket. And I won't say that I exactly know the rules by now, but seeing I was interesting to see that it was so big and so well played, and I even got to play a little bit of beach cricket, which I really enjoyed. But that wasn't my strong suit, so let's just skip ahead. This is nature pictures. Let's see. This is from Mumbai, and I can't remember the name. Maybe Rashdeep, you can help me out with this. But but otherwise, let's see. So one thing that I just really enjoyed traveling to India was this sort of mixture between nature and culture. Did you have temples built into like mountainsides, or just these little spots of culture in the middle of wild nature and forest? And I mean, just the nature itself. This was from Hampi, and you would never see anything like this from where I'm coming from. Denmark is a very controlled nature. Everything is sort of, as I said before, it's very, I can't remember the words, but everything is sort of controlled and grown in boxes, and you have very small amount of wild forest. So just seeing a riverside flow by itself was new to me. This is also Hampi. Let's see, I'm gonna skip ahead a bit. Right, so this is just to illustrate the difference between winter and summer in Denmark. So you don't have these, in Denmark, you don't have these, very, so let me say differently, the weather changes like crazy. You can go from rain to sun to hail in a very short amount of time, and the season doesn't really matter. But you will have these general feelings of a very gray, hopefully very snowy, white winter half a year, and then a lush, green, hopefully sunny summer half a year. But stable weather is never seen where I'm coming from. So going to a place with a nice warm climate, with the possibility of being outside and actually getting to get close to nature and seeing cities and everything, and not having to worry about getting too cold or getting too wet. I did travel during the monsoon months, so some rain was expected, but okay, let's go forward. All right, and I think, yeah, so we did get to see a few of the temples and monuments. But the interesting thing to me, or the thing that I found most interesting, was, so this one was, I can't remember where I took this, but I was surprised to see, to experience a country, when I came to India, to see a country with so many thousands of years of history. Because, I mean, compared to India, Denmark's history as a country is very short. And just experiencing a country with rich cultural life, with a rich spiritual life, and this, I was very surprised by this, what do you call it, approach to spirituality, and we don't really do as much as where I'm coming from. Because Denmark is a secular country, and even though we have sort of a state religion, which is Christianity, it's more a, what you call it, it's more cultural thing than a thing of worship, actually. And the churches that we have, and in general, the architecture in Denmark is more clean cut, more sort of, what do you call it, strict in a sense. So seeing this lush of, going to India and seeing a lush of colors, a lush of icons and figures was a very nice experience, just trying to drink all that in. I mean, this is more just a sum up that I was I was really enjoying my time in India. I had a lot of fun. I was so impressed that everyone was warm and welcoming and nice. And traveling with the friends already, I felt that I got a chance to see some more local stuff. And even though I was only there for 3 weeks, I felt that I got some sense of how India is, and I would love to return someday, hopefully soon. So I am curious. Now I have been talking for quite some time, and I have a little game that I would like to. I hope you would like to play with me in a sense, or in a second. But I was thinking if you had any questions or anything. I felt like, whoa, time is flying, and I've only touched briefly on my experience with India and with Denmark. But if you have any questions or anything that you would like to talk about, then please speak up.
We could see that you have just traveled to the southern part of India.
Mm-hmm.
So next time, whenever you are planning to visit India, just plan for visiting the northern part of India. It's amazing. And if you happen to visit during winters, you could see the similar weather that you had explained us about Denmark. The snowy weather and the immediate change in weather, rainfall, gray sky. You could experience the similar weathers. And obviously, in the northern part of India or in the northeastern part of India, you could see many means there are different landscapes. So geographically, it's very different. So make sure you visit the northern part as well.
I will. I would love to visit the northern part, and I know that for my last trip, we sort of had to split up the country in some way as to not try to cover too much land in too little time. So we decided for the first trip to go north to visit most of our friends living there at the time, and then sorry, south. I meant south. We had to go south. But next time, and this has been in the planning already, that we would try to cover more of the north. So I would definitely look forward to going there.
Okay, so and regarding your film making,
Mm-hmm.
how did you start? It actually means since your childhood, early childhood, were you interested in films, watching movies basically, or how did you start? Means how were you inclined to filmmaking and all?
So I started enjoying movies at a young age, but initially I started out playing music. I've been playing piano since I was a small kid, and I went to initially a musical school or musical high school. But I I felt that music should not wasn't my kind of line, because I felt to really make something with your music, you needed to I needed to practice every day for many hours, and I did not have the talent or the discipline to practice a musical instrument for that. But I felt that, to me, movie making and filmmaking was somewhat similar to making music, because of the emotions and rhythm and flow that you create when you make movies is a big part of the experience, next to just watching the plot and the characters. So to me, it felt like a very similar art form and a way of working. So I started out when I left high school, and I contacted a few filmmakers and followed their work in the beginning, and I started getting more and more jobs at commercial films, short film projects, And eventually I was involved in more projects, and I expanded my network, and I started creating stuff on my own. And I decided to go to Prague to study and again expand my knowledge of filmmaking and um, make more friends in the international community. And step by step, I've been sort of growing my portfolio and my work experience. And now I'm sitting at a production house, and I'm very close to working with the directors and producers in their work and learning a lot from that. So it's been long years of experience and just hard work. And it's sort of, I will say it hasn't been like a direct or a very straight line, but it's been sort of making a way with whatever was possible and trying to get the best out of the experience that I had available, if that answers the question.
Okay. And what is the common genre of movie preferred by Danish people?
So mostly you would have people enjoy sort of social realism. You would have movies about uh, ordinary people's lives and sort of family dramas, relationship dramas, and the dramas that are sort of happening inside the household and the four walls of the homes. That's at least um, how it used to be. But now you have more and more people looking at international streaming services, and people are more money are coming in from like the big services like Netflix and HBO, because the issue is that the audience and therefore the money is very limited in Denmark, also because of the language barrier. So there are no budgets for like big action or genre movies. But more and more people are sort of warming up to genre movies. So you are having, or you're seeing a growth in horror movies and sort of these more crazy, low budget art house things. But it's mostly social realism that's sort of the heavy hitter at the box office.
Oh, then mainly it's the non-fiction types.
Um, so you would have there. Well, you do have a lot of social realistic sort of fiction films with a sense of maybe some what you call it, this touch of something like finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. And then you have a whole scene of documentary that's sort of its own thing, that
Mm.
and a lot of people are making interesting stuff for almost no money, but there's a big scene for that. But it's not really a mainstream audience going to the cinema and watching documentaries.
Okay. So, have you ever watched Bollywood movies?
Yes,
That
I have. I have. I
okay, which
watched.
one?
I watched. I do not remember the Hindi title, but I think it was called Once Upon a Time in India or something like that.
Once Upon a Time in Mumbai, I guess.
Probably about a cricket game against the English. I
Okay.
I can't remember the title exactly. Maybe Rashdi, maybe you can help me out with that one.
I think that was Lagan.
Oh,
Yes,
Lagan.
yes, that was the
Once
one.
upon a time in
Uh,
India. Yeah.
oh.
Right.
um,
And I've watched the comedy Delhi Belly, which I thought was really
sorry?
funny. The comedy Delhi Belly.
Oh, Delhi Belly. Oh, yes.
Yeah, but that's to me that felt very different than what I experienced or like my assumption of Bollywood. Um,
Mm.
but I haven't had a chance to watch many movies. I know Rashdeep has been pushing for me to watch more stuff, and I have only so many hours in a day, so I'm trying as much as I can, but I would love to dive deeper. because I was so impressed that you have both Bollywood and then you have regional cinema. For is it every state that has a film production industry?
Yes, generally it's common in every state.
Mm. I've found that super fascinating. It's really you're really a movie making country.
Yes, most of the people here are crazy about movies, the actors, the actresses,
Mhm.
also the songs and all. So you can see a variety of culture in India. Mainly, people are interested in everything. It's just they need it's a source of passing their time.
Mhm.
Movies, songs, dances. You can see mixture of everything in India.
And you also have a very big celebrity culture, right? That there's the big stars have a big following and a lot of
Hmm.
worshippers, you would call it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Indian actors are worshipped all over the world, not
Mhm.
only just in India, all over the
Mhm.
world.
So,
Okay, so
is
yes,
there any
please.
Oh,
more questions or anything that you would want to talk about?
Yes,
you're
I would
also a
request the
fan of
students.
Oliver. You're also a fan of one of the Punjabi songs. Do you want to share that with us?
Oh, which one was that? Because I'm having a hard time with names, and I do you mean
The Diler Mehndi one?
of course, yeah, yeah, of course. No, yeah. So I'm so I feel so so sorry that I have only seen I feel I've only seen a fraction of Indian culture, and I know that you have so much to offer. That every state has something to offer, and I've only seen so little because so where I'm coming from, we don't get as much exposure to say Indian culture, or we have most of the stuff like there's a strong sort of national sense in Denmark where you have a lot of local stuff that is sort of pushed to the general audience, and then of course you have America, who is a heavy hitter. So I'm very unfortunate that I haven't had the chance to see as many films or listen to as much music. Um, but I hope that it's something that I can dig into deeper in the future. But yes, I'm very fond of the Dalamendi song, even though I feel that it's just scratching the surface.
Punjabi songs are in trend now. Mostly it's the Punjabi songs that all the teenagers, all the youngsters love.
Well, if they are as catchy, then I really understand it. All right. Do we have any more questions or anything that you would want to talk about? I'm sad that we only have like this 1 hour to talk because I feel like there's so much to talk about.
Oh,
Oh, I see
there we
there's a
have a
question.
first question.
Which software would you prefer? So I personally use Premiere Pro when I'm editing and because I'm used to the Adobe workflow and I enjoy their programs and their layouts, and I think it's a bit technical at first, but sort of getting into it, it becomes a very all-around tool that I feel is great for both like small videos and larger film stuff. But I can also recommend, I can do it in writing, but the one called the DaVinci Resolve. Let's see this one. Mainly because it is free to use. And you have a video suite, you have an audio suite, and you can even do effects all in the same program without having to go back and forth between other programs. So it's a bit technical at first, at least that's how I felt about it. But I think it's great if you want a program that sort of do it all, and it's especially great for starting out because it's free to use. And the experience you get with that program, you can take to more advanced software when you grow. So I hope that answers
So
the
what about
question.
Filmora and Sony Vegas?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So what about Filmora and Sony Vegas Pro?
I'm not sure. Can you? I'm sorry. I didn't. I'm not sure. I'm understanding the question correct. Can you ask again? Sorry.
You can use the chat box, Naman.
Yeah. Mostly, I have a little bit of trouble with the connection. I'm falling through a little bit.
Other students, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Or you can put in writing, and I can try to answer best of experience. Oh, Filmora and Sony Vegas Pro. I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with those editing softwares, or with the Filmora and Sony Vegas. Are those cameras, or are they editing software? I haven't worked with that actually. So I'm sorry, I can't really answer that. That's out of my experience. And there was question, what is a feature film? So it's basically we use it in Denmark because it's like a full-length film, if you would say so. It's a film that has a runtime of 40 minutes to, let's say, 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours. Because in Denmark, film production, like, money is tight, so you have many people doing short films, and then the feature film would be, an actual movie, like what you would see in cinemas and in television. So we do this differentiation between short film and feature film, and then of course series, which is the long running programs. Hope that answers the question.
That means Indians have a lot of money because our film, the duration is about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to 3 hours even. So Indians have lots of money compared to that.
Yep. That I do envy, but I hear that I got the sense that no matter where you're working, if you have a tiny budget or if you have a big budget, it's always a challenge to produce and create a film. But it is true that in Denmark and other places in Europe, you have generally shorter run times, simply because of money and the possibilities. All right. Yes, I have directed a few films. I have only been doing short films. Again, it's very, very hard to find the money to create a feature film in Denmark. So I've been doing short films. I've done, I think, about 10 or 12 short films during the last couple of years. I have one film right now that I just logged the edit. So that was done by an editor sitting in Norway. Duration. So the shortest film that I'm actually proud of that I'm showing is 3 minutes, and the longest is 30 minutes. But usually the stuff that I'm doing is like 10 to 15 minutes or something. What film next are you thinking? Oh, that's a big question. So if I'm fortunate, then I hopefully, because right now the director that is working at my production house is shooting at a hospital space. She's doing a series that is taking place at a hospital, and it's not a real hospital. So the production has built a 2-floor hospital that they do the entire shooting. So if I'm very lucky, because they're shooting not full time, they're shooting 4 days a week. And if I'm lucky, then I will be allowed to get the keys and shoot in the hospital space at the nighttime and weekends. So I am And this news I got like 2 days ago. So now I'm like turning my head to come up with a hospital drama. But I would love to do a sort of thriller. Hospital thriller is what I'm sort of brewing on right now. And hopefully that could be a large project. I would love to step up my filmmaking and do something that's an hour or something, because when you do something that's like a longer, it's easier to get into making actual features and get money for that. That question, how much does it cost to make an episode of an anime? I cannot answer that question because I've never worked with anime. So anime doesn't really, we don't really have a production of anime or much cartoon in Denmark. So that I cannot answer, sadly. I wish I could, but I'm sorry. So I haven't had a chance. So the question is, do you make animation? I haven't worked with animation before, and I don't do much animation. So what I have been working on before is, of course, live action. But I've been fortunate to work in a virtual production setup, which is, I don't know if any of you are familiar with virtual production, but it's basically so what's happening is that you're essentially shooting or filming the actors in front of a screen with an image, and on that screen is an image that is that moves according to the camera's position. So even though you can, and it's like you have a virtual set that is created on a computer and then projected onto a screen. So when you shoot with a camera on that screen and you move the camera, the image will move according to the camera, creating a sense of depth. So even though you're shooting directly on a flat space, it looks like you're inside an actual place, like a house or an office space, or basically anything. If any of you have seen the Mandalorian series, that is how they it is that exact technology they use to create that, with the actors being in sort of a cyclorama, this dome-like studio where you would have screens all across the borders. So in every direction you were shooting, you had a digital set that looked realistic. And it's like a more efficient way of shooting on a green screen, because you don't have to edit out the green screen afterwards. When you're filming against the screen, you have the final image, and you can actually work with that, because it's if you make it properly, of course, it makes believable. I hope that answered the question. The name of a film in which you have worked. So are you asking for a film that I've done personally, or do you ask for a film that, like a big film that I have been a part of? If that makes sense. Okay. I have currently been working on a television series here in Denmark called The Shift. Like we call it The Shift. You may be able to find it if you look it up. And that has been sort of the biggest project I've been involved in. It's a series coming to Danish television this fall, and it's premiering at the Berlin Film Festival in 1 week. And I've been sort of part of that, sitting behind the machinery and helping the directors, helping the writers, and helping the production along, just doing like everything to sort of get a sense of the filmmaking. For my own projects, I've done a film. The one that I'm most proud of is a film called Sleepwalker. It's not out yet. It will be out later this year. It's a dystopian film set in Copenhagen, and it was filmed during the pandemic. So we had a very small crew, and we wandered around the city like Copenhagen city at nighttime when all the streets were empty, and we shot this film in like extended long takes to give this sense of like a dark, oppressing world, like 1984 or The Handmaid's Tale. So that one I'm very proud of. Sleepwalker, it's called, and it's coming out soon on a short list here in Denmark. I'm not sure if you will be able to see it from India. There might be a geo-blocking, but hopefully if you look it up, it might be available. I saw there was a question about music video. I have been doing a little bit of music video. It's not much. I haven't been doing much music video. I've done a few things for friends and stuff, but music video is at least in Denmark, it's tough because so many people are doing music videos, you know, just buying a lot of gear and going out and shooting something to get experience and learning with that. But there's almost no money to be made from it. So it's a very tough competition. I mean, I suppose all film has tough competition, but music video in particular is a bit rough. Let's see, can you please tell something about filmmaking, something thrilling and exhilarating, which can make me feel to join and start exploring about this industry? Yes, that I can. So I will say, first of all, making films is extremely hard. It's time demanding, and it's putting a lot of demand on your ability to plan and prepare, because even if you're a very creative person, even if you have good ideas and you write a great script, if you cannot prepare for the production that is initially going to come, then everything falls apart. And suddenly you can stand with, you know, a great idea, but no one to film it, no one to play the actors, and no location besides, you know, a white wall in your own bedroom, which is not going to make a good film. So to me, what makes filmmaking super exciting, especially when you start out, is you have to be extremely creative. You have to, especially if you have no money for anything, you have to figure out, you have no way of, or what do you call it? You have to use whatever comes at hand. If you have an uncle or a brother who has, you know, a nice apartment, ask if you can shoot there. If you can film something outside in the sunset and it's going to be better, do that instead of spending tons of money on a studio space and a nice camera. So it's really about trying to get the best of what you have. And when you've done that, you make another one, and you make another one, and you make another one, and eventually, hopefully, someone's going to notice your work and start giving you some money to do it. But I think what makes it exciting to me, and why I would encourage you, I don't know much about the Indian film industry, neither the Bollywood or the local cinema. But what I would encourage you to is, because no 2 days are the same. Every day is different, and that is what's keeping me alive and making it interesting to make movies to me. It's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of sleepless nights, but I would say in the end it's all worth it. Okay, I think that we are running a bit out of time, so I will try to address the remaining questions as fast as I can. Let me see. There was a question, how do you think to become filmmaker? I am not sure. Does it mean to become a filmmaker, or am I misunderstanding the question? Because I think if that is the question, then I think it's really about networking and sort of expanding who you're working with, finding people that you can work with, and get people who sort of understand your language and understand what you're trying to do. Because if you have to every day argue with your actors, every day argue with your photographer, every day argue with your editor, it's just going to wear you down. So it's better to go with someone that you can talk to, who may not have as much experience, but if you can communicate and if you understand what you're trying to do, that's priceless, I would say. How much days to make a film? It really depends. I've shot films that took 4 months, not shooting every day, but 4 months. And I've done films that were shot in 1 day and edited in 4 days. And it still turned out to be a 15-minute film. So I really can't say. It depends. But I would say starting out, go for something that you can afford. If you don't have the money to do 3, 4, 5 different locations, find one nice location, write a good script, have some great lines, have people talk to each other, and make a small drama in, you know, a restaurant space or a kitchen table, dinner scene. And which software should I use to animate pictures into videos? I think it kind of depends what you want, because if you want still photos on top of your video, I think you can use Premiere or any other editing software. But I personally recommend using Premiere Pro, because you can do, especially if you have other Adobe programs, you can take one image and link it to, let's say, Photoshop or anything others, like any of the other software. So you have everything in the same editing timeline, but you can still take elements out and put it into more advanced programs and work with that specifically. I hope that makes sense to your question, but I would definitely go with the Adobe software. But it depends, because animated pictures into videos, most editing softwares has the option to put in images and use them, animate them, and sort of make effects on those still images. So I hope that answers the question. So how are we doing on time? Because I might have to leave you in a short time, because I need to go back to work. It is or also I imagine that you have other classes that you have to go to or anything. So I don't know, how are we wrapping up now, or do we have more questions or anything that we should cover?
The set time is already has already exceeded. So if the students have any questions, please ask him quickly. If not, we'll wrap up the session. Okay. I don't think we have any. Okay, it's okay. So I don't think we have any more questions. And okay, so did you ever tried India fast food like samosa, jalebi?
I did, and I loved it. I also had dosas and this, I can't remember, but the leaves, the small like wrapped leaves that you get after dinner, really a heavy hitter, but I loved it.
Pan.
Fun.
Yes, pan. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Did you try pizza? Okay, pizza is common. It's not Indian dish.
I did not try pizza in India, though. I have tried that at home.
Okay, I hope that was the last question. Thank you so much, sir, for letting us know more about Denmark, and it was really an informative session. We got to know a lot about filmmaking and all that. So thank you so much for giving us your valuable time.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope I didn't bore any of you. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I just
Yes,
say
sir.
that I was so happy to be invited to do this. Thank you, Rashdeep. and I hope to be visiting India very soon. As soon as it's possible again, I would love to. So thank you all for listening. I have, if I may steal just 2 minutes of your time, I have just one thing I would love to show you, because I did a little tease about the Danish language. So I have 2 things that I'm going to skip all this, but just to give you a sense of the language that I'm dealing with. Do you see this word?
Yes, sir. AMAGER. A major or a mager?
Yeah,
Amagir.
that's how it should make sense. If any of you want to try and then pronounce it, and I will give you the correct answer, then I will leave you be.
Amagir.
Amadir.
Amagir.
Amager.
All right, thank you.
Amagir.
Okay, very nice suggestion. And the crazy thing is, the way it's pronounced is ama.
That's it?
Yeah, ama.
Oh,
So
That-
I I thought you should have that one to leave on. And the last one that I would love to share with you. This A letter with the dot on top is pronounced O. So any suggestions?
Ka.
Skål.
Exactly. Very nice.
Cool.
It's skål, and it means cheers. It's like a greeting, you would say, when you're having a drink or a glass of water with friends. So on that, I will leave you with skål. Thank you so much for having me, and hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.